Today I have something pretty cool to show you guys. Do you remember this video I did a while back about an all SSD NAS? You know, the one that had the funky Linkin Park logo lookalike? Well, if you've been following this channel, you know that I am a pretty big fan of the LinkStation N1. And as you can see from my uptime status, it's been running for a while. So, of course, I got super stoked when the Link Plus folks got in touch and said that they had a new version of their all SSD NAS, the LinkStation N2. Now, when we put them next to each other, they look exactly the same, they feel the same, they weigh the same, but they're not the same. You see, there are some essential changes on this NAS that really elevated it. One of them, a 10 gigabit network card. That's right, Link Plus heard us, and the N2 now runs a 10 gigabit NIC. But it's not just that, because with great power comes a better CPU. While the N1 comes with an Intel 5105 CPU, the N2 ships with an Intel N100 CPU. And both these CPUs are low power CPUs, and that's crucial for a device like a NAS, which is like turn on 24/7. However, the N100 has a lower base clock speed of around 800 megahertz, but a turbo speed up to 3.4 gigahertz. Plus, with its modern architecture, it is also much more power efficient. This device consumes between 7 and 9 watts of power while on idle. Now, another feature of the N2 is that the USB-C speed has also been upgraded from 5 gigs to 10 gigs. And they also added a dedicated reset button and clear button. You know, devices should have a reset button and a clear button. And if you're like me and do a lot of crazy stuff on your OSs, you'll eventually need to reset them and clear them quite a lot. And a small little detail that I noticed was this extra air vent to help the N2 cool down. I have to say I never really had any kind of issues with my my N1 as far as heating is concerned, but you know, having too much holes can't hurt, and I need to stop myself. Now, as far as features go, we've seen that it comes with, you know, a new CPU, the N100, like I said, a new NIC with 10 gigabits, a USB-C also upgraded to 10 gigabits, and now instead of one USB port, we got two USB ports, but 2.0. And just like in the N1, it also comes with 128 gigabytes of eMMC internal storage, 2 bay SATA 3 port for 2.5-inch HDD or SSD. I don't know who the hell would use HDD 2.5, but you know, it's an option. 4 bay M2 NVMe, 16 gigabytes of RAM, but this time low power DDR5 rather than low power DDI4 like the N1, audio and HDMI 2.0, and they've like got rid of the wireless and the Bluetooth because everyone complained a lot about it, so they kind of like heard us and said, yeah, let's get rid of this because it doesn't work with Unraid. Oh, and they also included this like really tiny screwdriver right here. I mean, look at that, how thoughtful. Now, in our case, we're going to use two crucial PCI Express 4.0 NVMe drives with 500 gigabytes, because I don't really see the point of using SSD drives since they are pretty much the same price. And the reason why they are so small in size, it's because, well, this channel is very small and I had to buy these drives myself, so don't forget to subscribe. And it's really easy to install these drives. Just flip the LinkStation around, open the compartments, make sure that you press the NVMe all the way in and then slide the little lever and that's it, you're done. And repeat the same process for your second drive. And I have to say that I really like this little lever that they have here. It's so cool and so practical. Now, if you open the second compartment, there is a USB stick, and this is where your Unraid installation is. So if you want to put another OS in there, you need to remove this, but know that by removing that, it will void your warranty. I don't really care, I did it. Okay, now let's go to the fun part, the software and speed. Now, after plugging in your NAS to a power socket and the Ethernet cable to your router or your switch, just press the power button and wait till all the lights stop blinking. Then just go to http://tower.local/login. But if that doesn't work, have a look at your DHCP server and look for the host name tower, and you can use the IP directly. Now, once you hit the user interface for the LinkStation, you need to enter your username and password. And as you can see, we have Unraid. And you also need to activate your Unraid license. So all pretty standard, just like in the N1. Now, as you can see right now, we are on 2.5 gigabits, which means that it supports multi-speed. But don't worry, because I'm going to be doing tests with the 10 gigabit as well. I just wanted to show you that this is also multi-speed, and it works with 2.5, with 1, and with 10 gigabits. But first things first, now that we're in, let's update Unraid. And to do so, go to Tools and choose to update the OS. You need to sign in and then click on the stable version you want to upgrade, which is version 7. And a word of advice, don't install beta versions on your NAS. I mean, it's your data, okay? And once that finishes, just reboot your NAS. Now, before going any further, let's just change the name from Tower and the icon, because no offense to Link Plus, but it's kind of boring. But look at this. When we click on the icon, we now have a little link station icon that they did for us. I mean, that's, again, really thoughtful. It's the little details, you know? So let's click on the cogwheel here and change the name. And I mean, you guys know that I love anime, so of course I'm calling this NAS Frieza, which is the most badass villain ever. If you agree with this statement, say something in the comments, because I think we should be friends. Now, the best thing about the version 7 is that it finally supports native ZFS. In my previous video about the link station N1, I covered why ZFS is the best file system for SSDs because of a feature that SSDs have called trim. And in this video, I also showed you a little hack to use ZFS with SSD drives in Unraid. This is because historically, Unraid was not able to work without an array. So we would have to create a dummy array, which was really lame. But with version 7, we can now bypass that hack quite easily. So let's just do that. Okay, now click on main and select 0 slots under the array, because we don't want an array, okay? Then we're going to click on pool, because we want to create a pool. We can name that pool whatever we want. I'm just going to call mine main storage or storage, it doesn't matter, and add 2 slots. Then just add each disk to a slot. And then click on the storage for one of those disks and set the file system to ZFS. I mean, it's so cool that Unraid now finally supports ZFS from scratch. Oh, and don't forget to leave the auto trim on. You can also configure a cache, and I think that is advisable in Unraid, but I only have 2 drives because, like I said, we're a small channel. And then you can just click on start and voila, well, actually, no, not voila, because look at this here. Since there are new disks, I'm getting unmountable error, which means I have to format them. So just click where it says, yes, I want to do this, and hit format. Now, one thing that I noticed after creating the pool, when I clicked on shares, I had nothing there. And by default, Unraid is supposed to create, a couple of default shares like app data, domains, etc. And now if that happens, just stop your array, shut down your NAS, give it a few seconds, and then turn it back on again. After that, the shares reappeared. I know it's really weird, and this kind of makes me a bit on edge with the kind of immaturity that Unraid has with ZFS. But anyway, maybe it was just me. Maybe I was just unlucky. Now we want to do some tests, but before we need a few shares, and before that we actually need the user because, well, in Unraid, you can't just access SMB with root. But it doesn't matter because in Unraid, actually creating these things is actually super easy. It's a lot easier than when you do it in TrueNAS, for example. So just click on users, add user, give it a name, a password, and you can add your mug there if that makes you happy. And once you're done, just click add. Then you just click on shares, add share, give it a name, and in our case, we're calling it my share, and click add share. Under SMB settings, just click on export. Then on Windows, just click on my computer or this PC, whatever, I'm really old, I know. Click in the 3 little dots at the top and add a network drive. Just map that to your NAS IP address, which if you don't know, you can just view it by clicking on the terminal icon in Unraid and typing IP space A, and it's right there. So yeah, you type your IP address / the name of your share, which in our case was my share. Okay, and now for the Iperf tests. Now I did a few tests here with 2.5 and with 10 gigabits, all right? So at 2.5 gigabits, these were the results. So they're pretty banging good, and for the Iperf tests at 10 gigabits, these were the results. And I think this is a pretty smashing result, to be honest. At 10 gigabits, for the Iperf tests, we had a consistent 1.12 gigabyte transfer at the bitrate of around 9.5 gigabits per second, which is, pretty good because it's a 10 gigabit card. Now, we also did some crystal mark tests, and for the crystal marks at 2.5 gigabits and 10 gigabits, these were the results. And I have to add here that my NVMe drives were the cheapest ones that I could find on Amazon, okay? So just to remind you again, I'm using Crucial PCI 4.0. Where are they? These ones right here. I'm using this stuff right here, which is some Crucial PCI 4.0 with read-write at 4,700 megabytes, So there you go. And let's do the final test, which is something a little bit more practical, like copying a file into a Samba share. And as you can see, it's copying it at nearly 1 gigabyte, which is pretty cool. Now, if you guys want to know how to install apps like Jellyfin, change the theme to, to black amongst other things, just watch my LinkStation N1 video. I did all of that there. And in terms of price, you need to take this with a pinch of salt because at the time of making this video, these devices are not in the market yet. So the N2 should cost between 300 and 400 pounds, euros or dollars, depending on where you are. But that's kind of like the figure. Like I said, as I was told, these things might change. The best thing is when you're watching this video, have a look at the website and I'll put the link in the description. Now, my final thoughts about this device. I think that if you're looking for an all SSD NVMe NAS with fast access, with a 10 gigabit network card, a low power CPU, if you like Unraid, you get 1 year of free Unraid. This is definitely the thing to get. This thing is super quiet. You can leave it in your living room that it won't drive you crazy like mechanical drives do. It consumes very little power. Like I said earlier, it's between 7 and 9 watts. And, that's like SBC, single board computer territory right there, that type of wattage. And you can start with small NVMe drives like the ones I showed you, which were 500 gigabytes. And I think I paid about $60 for the two of them. And you can go as high as 40 terabytes because this device supports it. Now, where you're going to find 40 terabyte SSDs, I have no idea. So I am definitely keeping this as my personal NAS. Now, in terms of cons, as we say in Portuguese, no há belo sem senão, or in English, you can't be beautiful without an if. And if you are a non-Portuguese speaker, this probably means absolutely nothing to you. But anyway, a couple of things that I'd like to point out at this stage is just the lack of support for other OSs. Now, the LinkStation is kind of like open and allows you to install other OSs. They're not locked down to just Unraid, but you're kind of like encouraged to use Unraid. And even though it comes with an activation for a year, I don't really want to be paying Unraid tax every year, just to have an NAS. Now, as always, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It was a pleasure doing this review. I really enjoyed the device. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video, and I see you guys in the next one. Take care.